So you went through the first couple of trainings, giving you the overview of the pathway of what we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. This one's going to be about what is remote closing, right? You might already know, but this is going to be a little bit more deeper than we've ever talked about before, or that was talked about in the marketing, etc. So this is going to give you kind of an idea of what different opportunities there are, essentially different roles within high ticket closing, etc. So we're going to cover what is remote closing, how these positions and opportunities work, examples of different opportunities, and then economics in terms of the example comp structures. Now, let me be very clear. It is illegal, and I cannot explicitly promise that you're going to make any certain amount of income because I made a certain amount of income or because somebody else made a certain amount of income. But what I can do is share with you real comp structures from real companies that our clients have gotten sourced into. So what I'm going to share with you is very, very real. Right? Does this mean you're going to make this? I don't know. It depends on if you take action and if you go after companies just like this. But it does exist 100%. So what is remote closing? So think about big influencers in the marketing and online business space, like Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Russell Brunson, Frank Kern. How do they make their money? Now, we've kind of talked about this, right? The big thing they do is they might run ads to a low ticket product, or they might run ads to a webinar or to a video, but it all leads to this sales call that essentially sells a 5K to even 100K type product. And I'll tell you what, these influencers will do anything to not take these sales calls. Okay, they will pay a lot of money to not take these sales calls. They want to build a sales team. They don't want any part of this. And so here's a few example funnels down here, but this is really having the high ticket on the back end and selling some sort of coaching or some sort of service. It is the most profitable and scalable model for online entrepreneurs, period. Okay, a lot of people used to do this thing where they would sell automated courses. The days of that are pretty much gone. Now they have to do the one-on-one sales call, right? And that's a huge opportunity for you. So essentially, some of these entrepreneurs, they'll get to like 30 to 50K a month or even 150K a month, maybe tops. And they'll kind of cap out. They won't be able to take any more calls themselves. That's where the opportunity for somebody like you comes in, okay? Now, let's talk about setting versus closing. First part there was a little bit of a recap. But I don't know if we've talked about this yet. It depends on maybe your coach talked about it or your closer did, but it's very, very important we talk about this. So in high ticket sales, there's two primary positions. There's setters and there's closers, okay? And there's some people who set and close, all right? Now setters are more entry level positions. So in our industry, what they're gonna do is they're gonna focus on resources like Facebook groups, buyers lists, subscriber phone lists, email, mini chat, all that the entrepreneur provides for them, okay? Now these positions are outbound, which means you're gonna be reaching out to potential prospects and setting up a sales call with them with the closer, right? So like for instance, somebody might enter into our Facebook group and one of my setters will reach out, have a conversation, set them for the closer, then if the closer closes them, they get a certain commission. Or let's say I have a low ticket product and I'm selling 100 of those a day. Well, my setters will reach out to the people with the low ticket product, have a conversation with them, set them for a closer, and then if they close, they get a commission, okay? Now, there's a few examples. The key distinction here, and I wanna make this clear, is you might be thinking, oh man, like outbound, like that just sounds icky, right? Here's the deal, is in this industry, the beauty is that still all the leads are generated for you. So this is not like you gotta do a LinkedIn search and create a list and then scrape all this data and then you're cold calling them and you gotta be super good in the first 30 seconds or they're not even gonna know who you are and they're gonna hang up on you. It's not like that at all. Usually when people buy a book or they join your Facebook group, they're super receptive to conversation. So this is very, very different than the traditional cold calling. It's nothing like that. And candidly, it's quite easy. So if we look at a model here, I kind of gave you a few models. It looks like this got cut off. Let me see if I can get the Lucid chart up. Yeah, so this must not be working right now. I don't know why that is. But regardless, the VSL appointment setters, you can see add, opt-in, VSL call. So a lot of times what will happen is right when they opt in for the VSL, which is like a small video that prompts them to book a call, the setters will reach out and essentially have a conversation with them before they've even booked, and they'll book them on with a closer, right? You can't see this one with mini chat here, but another one here is survey, payment page. Interesting. I'm not sure what this is because we lost the text here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a new template for you guys. Long story short, it's pretty simple. Either people purchase and essentially you're gonna reach right out through phone or through text, or if they join a Facebook group through Facebook, have a quick conversation with them, set them for a closer. In the setter training that we have later in the course, I break down all of that stuff, and I have another diagram and several different. I mean, I have all of the scripts, everything that you need to be able to do that. It's very, very easy. Okay, so that's how that works. Now closers, right? You guys already know what this is. These are the salespeople who take the calls, right? So sometimes these calls come directly from ads. Other times they come from the setters, right? Like with my team, maybe you're here because you opted in for our video and one of my setters called you, set you for the closer, then the closer had the conversation with you, right? So this is what's commonly heard of when you talk about high ticket closers, that you're typically higher paid than setters. And it really depends on the team. Some teams, setters and closers make the same. Other times, it's just setters make a little bit less, and then sometimes it could be wider discrepancies. It just really depends. Now, closers, to be a closer, it is tougher, even to be a setter, to be honest, but closers, it is tougher to be a closer if you don't have sales experience or industry-specific experience. Now, granted, here's the deal, is because you're in this certification program and you've actually invested into this and you've been through my training, it's gonna be much easier to go right to a closer position pretty much right away. Now, if you're brand new and you have no experience, you've never done sales before, that's still fine, you're in the right place. You're gonna need to get down the certification material. And one of the things I would recommend, and just ask your coach about this and see what they recommend for you, everybody's gonna have a different opinion, is use being a setter as a foot in the door strategy to eventually be a closer. Because here's the deal, most setters, and obviously not the setters in this program, right? And not my setters, but most setters out there in the industry, they're not very good. Okay, it's just they're kind of just using their job to get along and make a little bit of money, but they're distracted with like a side hustle. If you just come in there and you're like, man, the next 3 months I'm gonna be the best setter I possibly can be, I'm gonna tell you this for sure. What's gonna happen is you can easily get promoted as a closer, or you can leverage that experience to go to a different company and get a closing position. Most people just aren't willing to punt, 3 months of not being a closer to essentially just be a setter and just gain the experience, get the track record rolling, and get some momentum. But if you do, it's gonna help tremendously. So I'll tell you a story. Mitchell, who's now the general manager of Sales Team Accelerator, essentially what he did is when we used to work together back in the day at Traffic and Funnels, and when he started, he was an admin. He was making like $2,000 a month, barely anything. And he was just like doing like data entry essentially. And he begged to become a setter. And what he did as a setter, and he was making probably 6 figures as a setter. And so what he did as a setter is he gained a ton of experience and he just put in the work for about 3 to 4 months. And then he leveraged that to eventually get promoted as a closer. Okay? So don't be afraid to be a setter. Obviously, if you feel like you have the experience, you have the skills, and you want to go for a closer, go for it. But being a setter in the beginning can be a great foot in the door strategy to eventually be a closer and then eventually ascend down the line. So let me give you some example offers of what companies could look like in this industry. Remote Closing Academy, where you're at, obviously that's the easy one, right? We help people get 6-figure remote closing positions. We have a team of setters. They reach out to you when you opt into the video or when you go to the Facebook group. They'll text you, they'll email you, they'll outbound dial you, and they essentially try to book you with a closer. Then obviously the closers is who you talk to right before you own the program or you join the program. Another example is my friend Heather Hammerschmidt from Holus Health. She basically helps women over 40 lose weight, stay healthy, have longevity, all through her group coaching program, which includes a course, group coaching calls, one-on-ones, Facebook group, and more. It's $4,800. So she has setters similar to mine. They farm a Facebook group, and she has closers, right? At this point, I'm sure you see a little bit of the dynamic here. Typically, the price points are going to be $4,800 to $18K plus. I'll just give you some other examples. Joel Kaplan's a friend of mine. He has a high ticket offer helping agencies get to 7 figures, right? Tanner Chittister's a friend of mine. He helps personal trainers start online coaching businesses. Trey Llewellyn's a friend of mine. He helps online entrepreneurs start e-commerce businesses. Mark Santiago is a friend of mine. He helps men who are going through divorce reclaim their masculinity and their destiny. Casey Owens is a friend of mine. He helps men save their marriages, okay? Tamara T helps people start Amazon FBA stores. Rich Viola sells leads to solar businesses, right? So it's a lead generation service, but it's still a great high ticket offer and people are making great money with him. Ralph Cochran helps Christian schools 2 to 3x their enrollment. And there's so much more. I mean, there's ones that are helping I have a friend who has an offer helping musicians really master music. And it's $5,000, right? So we've had students actually go and find him and apply and end up getting the position with him. And what's amazing is that like they're really passionate about music. So not only are they doing something where they're making money and they're passionate about closing, but at the same time, like they love music and they're talking about something all day that they're really, really passionate about. So there's a lot out there. There's coaching programs, business consulting, lead generation agency, B2B, B2Solopreneur, B2C. So if you have a background in a certain industry, that's going to be the best one to start with, right? Like maybe you did real estate. Well, unless you're just like, man, I'm so done with real estate, I just never want to talk about it again. You could have a coaching program where you sell real estate agents, right? And you could still talk about what you're an expert in, but to other agents, and you're just going to do so much better than anybody else on that team because you kind of have that experience, right? So let's talk about the economics, how you make money. Again, this is not get rich quick. I mean, you can go to any of these companies and look and just see what their on-track earnings are, right? So I'm not promising you any sort of earnings. That would obviously be illegal. But what I can say is this is typically, from what I've seen, what it looks like. And obviously, if you go and you look at the job descriptions of LinkedIn and Indeed of these types of positions, you reach out to these companies, you have these conversations, you're going to find something very, very similar to this, okay? So I'll tell you what RCA is, all right? We give our salespeople about five sales opportunities a day, 5 days a week. These are people who watched like a video or spoke to one of our setters and then pre-qualified, pre-framed, and pre-educated before they're even speaking with us. The KPI we give our closers is 20 to 25% closing ratio minimum. They make 10% commission, which means they're going to make anywhere from 500 to 1K per unit on average. So as an example, they can take 25 calls a week, 20% closing ratio, 750 commission per unit. They're making 15K a month net income, right? With bonuses, maybe 18K. And just to give you an example, if you were having your own business, even if you were running 50% profit margins, you'd have to be doing $500,000 a year to make that, right? If you're a typical business with 10 to 20% profit margins, like e-commerce, Amazon, dropshipping, if you're anything like that, you're gonna have to making I would say $150,000 to $200,000 a month. So what's crazy is that, it sounds like, oh man, if you have $1 million a year business, you're making a lot of money. But if you're running 10% profit margins, which in software and e-commerce is standard, you'd have to be making $200,000 a month to make what you're making as a closer, right? And you can make, this type of money, which I'm saying as a closer, very, very quickly if you apply yourself, if you do the work, and obviously if you, get on a team and close people. In terms of a setter, let's look at what this looks like. So setters are going to make about $1,500 a month base. It all depends based on company, but for RCA, we pay ours $1,500 a month base plus 3% of closed sets. Okay, so this can vary position to position. Don't hold me to it. And again, what you're going to do is you're going to be given various outbound opportunities, but it's not like you have to go find your own. It's kind of like these leads are given to you, right? So people are going to join Facebook groups. People are going to opt in for webinars. People are going to buy low ticket products. Okay, and then typically setters, if the company is providing you with the right amount of leads per month, you should be able to do 20 to 30 sets per week at a 30% closed set percentage. Okay, that's what my company does. So here's how this would break down. 20 sets a week, 30% closed, which would be 6 closed a week, times 4 weeks, that's 24 closed per month. 24 closed sets times 300, which is 3% of a 10K product, is $7,200 plus your $1,500 base is $8,700, right? So that's crazy, right? That's an entry-level position and you can get right into that. That's why it's a really, really, really good foot in the door strategy, because with a lot of setter positions, you could be making 6 figures, or even if you don't make 6 figures, you could be maybe making $5,000 to $7,000 a month to essentially learn, right? And that's how I would think about it. It's like, hey, if I just want to get my foot in the door as a setter, start making money quickly, it's very, very easy to get a setter position. Just go in there, be like, okay, I'm going to make $5,000 to $7,000 a month for the next 3 months just to get educated, right? Like you're getting paid to get educated, which is amazing. Then after you just doubled down and just made the most out of the opportunity, you can move to a closer and make even more money. So that's it for this training, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.